My churn has never been over 4% ever.
My God, Sarah.
The worst case is that it doesn't work. So like, what are you waiting for? You're just saying, hey, I'm over here now and I'm offering these new cool things that you're not getting here. Come and give it a try. And then if it's dead and it doesn't work or you don't like it, then that's...
Thank you for coming on the podcast, which is brand new. You're Sarah Marshall, a friend and a fellow schooler.
Yes.
And we were just talking about what is this? And I don't really have an answer for you. You're like, how does this work? I'm like, we just kind of wing it. And I feel like the goal is that it's just kind of, we're just like hanging out and talking about school. So I kind of want to hear about like how you started on Skool, and then we could just roll from there. So what brought you to Skool?
Well, do you know Dan Henry? Do you know who Dan Henry is?
No, Dan Henry.
Dan Henry, man, I don't know if anybody out there knows. Dan Henry is a pretty big into marketing, but he is who helped me build my program initially 4 years ago. So I owned a consignment store for 8 years, and I found his ad, and it was like, turn your knowledge into a course and sell it online. And I was like, hey, I could do that. And I bought his program, and I sat on it for like 2 years before I actually used it. Yeah.
This is him?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's great. If you just clicked on his stuff, you are about to get bombarded with his ads. So you will love it.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
He is an ad fanatic. So anyways, I learned from him. So that's who helped me create my first program that I sold for 4 years. So when he switched to high ticket, I kind of moved myself up to high ticket. So I followed him for a while and really used him as a mentor. And he started promoting Skool in his emails.
Oh, okay.
So he switched all of his high ticket stuff to a low ticket membership. And I sat on that idea for a while. It bothered me because I was doing pretty well with my high ticket program. And, but I was getting a little bit burnt out selling at that high ticket because I'm not great with sales. I'm not that great with sales calls. I'm like, do it if you want to. If you can't afford it, I'm sorry. And that's kind of how the sales calls went for me.
Yeah, that's
so
how
I was
too.
like, oh, I'm sorry. And like, I'm not a pushy. I can't be pushy.
They go long, you give too much, and then you don't sell.
Yeah, I'm just like, let me help you. We'll just do it right here, and I will just give, and that's okay. That's good. There's a place for that. But anyways, I sat on that idea for a while from Dan. So he taught me about Skool. So he sold this like $200 come in, let me show you all about Skool, and let me show you how I started my membership. And so that's what I did. So in May of this year, 2024, I switched to the Skool community. Man, not only have I loved Skool, but yeah.
Right? You're on Facebook.
Yeah. So I had a Facebook group, and then I used ClickFunnels, and that's where I hosted my platform, like my membership platform before.
Got you. You had a pretty like good sized Facebook group, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, maybe not to some, decent. It's 1,500.
1,500, but it's like you're hyper niche. Like it's all consignment store.
Yeah, and
owners,
not online
right?
resellers, like not eBay people.
Right.
It's like just people who have brick and mortar consignment store locations. So not thrift stores. Yeah, it's very
Super
very
tight.
small.
Yeah.
Very specific.
But that's like you have a very, very like, you have a niche audience, and they should inherently be willing to invest in their business. So that 1,500 is probably more valuable than a lot of people's $100,000, 100,000 member lists on Facebook at the time.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah. My email list is about the same. And yeah, they are all very targeted. I mean, that's really how I grew my email list, was from my Facebook group. To enter, they can leave their email address to enter the group. And it's optional, but I mean, 75-80% of them who are coming in leave their email address. And now, thanks to you, I grow my email list through ads also. But
yeah, probably thanks to Evelyn too. Like I feel like we all learn from Evelyn, and us at the Ads Lab, we test some stuff too. But like she's also been. Are you doing like the form ads on Facebook native?
Yep, I just did that for a whole month, and man, I think I doubled my email list from those. Doubled.
Wow. What was your cost for that right now?
It was under a dollar for a while. It was right around 80
Oh,
cents a lead for a while.
dang, that's
Um,
really good.
and then it started hitting up there, like when it got to a dollar 40 a lead, which I could have still kept it on, but the creative itself was kind of burning out.
Yeah,
And I think I'm gonna make, so I turned him off. I think I'm gonna make a new freebie and then just run it all
yeah.
over again. But it did
Wow.
well.
You're so niche and your costs are so good. I feel lazy now talking to you because like
No.
we hit it out the gate with our lead magnet for like $1.50, and I'm not even lying to you. I think our costs, because our creatives are completely dead, are like at $5 right now, and just like nobody has had the time to do anything about it. So
Oh wow.
we're just kind of like, we know we need to make another magnet to create more
Yeah.
email leads, but we're kind of
I'm
like
sure you
in
had a lot of
denial.
creatives, right? For it. So
We're
I
building
tested a
a
lot of
yeah,
creatives and there was
yeah.
one. I'll have to show you my winning creative, but it's literally just me. Like I printed out my PDF and it's
Mm,
a picture of me holding the PDF. So I just like, you know,
no, nice.
and it's like my thumb and it's just
Wait,
the
you
PDF.
holding the PDF? What do you mean?
Yeah, so like I took a picture like of my hand, like
Yeah.
me just holding it.
Uh huh.
That's
I'd
the
like.
winning creative.
Wow.
It's
I
just
need to look at that. I
yeah, I'll
feel
send it
like
to you.
we were using the Skool logo in pretty much all of our ads, and then like a couple of weeks ago, got a DM from the team, and they're like, "Hey, we don't want people to use the Skool logo anymore." And I'm like, "Makes sense. I don't know why you didn't do this sooner, but I will
Yeah.
comply." And so we killed like 80 to 90% of our ads at that time, and then we started hiring a designer, and we're like trialing with a designer who's taking on more and more work, and then
Yeah.
like the next task is like, so we killed all of our ads. What do we, let's start
Wow.
again. But I mean, we aren't just like reviving creatives, we're like rebranding and reviving creatives, so it's just a
Yeah.
larger
Totally
task, which
different.
is yeah. But anyways, you like, were you doing webinars with the setup when you were with Facebook as
Um,
well? Like,
I guess so. I had tried that several times, like maybe 3 times a year, I would do a really big webinar.
mm-hmm.
So I've done organic content up until I found you in May. I had only run ads one time. I ran them for 2 months. I had no idea what I was doing, which is what most people probably who come into Ads Lab feel like.
Mm,
Like the ads manager to me was like this big, scary monster of a
yeah.
machine that I didn't want to touch because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
if I touch anything, it's going to break. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think, man, getting into the ads lab was I bought, by the way, 2 courses on ads
Mm-hmm.
and neither of them were as helpful as the ads lab. But I think
Mm,
I was going to tell you today, like what has helped me the most was really just watching you play around with it. Like some of your
okay.
videos that you're just like, I'm just going to go through what's working for us, what's not, and just
Yeah.
literally watching you click all the buttons, seeing you be confident
Mm,
in it and not be scary. It's like, oh, I can turn that off, but I can turn it back on if I want to, or I'm just going to click here to look at this. It's like just watching you do that made me
mm-hmm.
more comfortable. Then I would go in and I would click
Mm.
around on the same things. And I'm like, oh, like,
Wow.
yeah, I
You've
can
told
do
me
that.
this exact thing before, and when you told me before, it was like, I feel like I had an aha moment before, and then I like didn't write it down, and I feel like I'm having the same aha moment again. I'm like, she's a genius.
Oh,
And it's like, Devin, I like, it makes me want to like, I feel like I should just do a live stream without like people coming up where I'm just like, hey, you can
yes.
watch me if you're in the ads lab. I'm just going to turn our ads up and down today and talk. And that's it.
That, that is
Just do
it.
that. Just do
Yes.
that.
And you should clip what I just said and just turn that into an ad for yourself. I give you
Okay.
permission right here to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll test it. If that ad wins, I feel like we'll have to give you some kind of residual like royalty bonus per acquisition
No,
too.
whatever.
Just as a bonus, like I'm just gonna
Whatever.
give back.
You have helped me so much. It's been like just that though. That has really
Mm,
been what has been so helpful for me was just watching you because I'm like, once you get it set up, that's fine. And that's the other 2 courses that I bought. It's like they just help you set it up. And it's like you see them do it one time and you feel like it's
yeah.
this stiff, I can't change it. I can't. So just watching you flow through
Mm,
it. And now I feel like I get in there and I'm like, I can't mess anything up. Like I could mess
Mm-hmm.
all this up and it'd be fine. I know how to redo it or fix it or whatever.
Yeah, you've got your system in place. And
Yeah.
so, dang, so that's very encouraging. So thank you.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
I feel like it's so fun to help people like you in the ads lab because you're you were really willing to just like test the system and try things. And I remember when you started to get wins, you were giving back and you were just like, I mean,
Yeah.
in the zone. And now that you've gotten where you are, you're in your group and you're doing your thing. And I feel like a proud part of it. And I'm
I
trying to
love that.
find a way to help more people like I helped you. And there,
Yeah.
we just have such a variety of like styles of learners and levels of people, and ads get more and more different. Like the strategy seems to be expanding. The world of like school ad strategy is kind of expanding into email list building as well now, I'd say. And like, yeah, I feel like your story of how you went through the ads lab is such a like core part of the way I think about trying to teach now. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, how do I help people? How do I help Sarah? Like I go back to the way that you were using things, and I'm like, if they're not using things like Sarah, like what would help this person do? Like why did Sarah get it? And they like I think about your experience a
Well,
lot because you were so involved and very
yeah. I
you're very
think though that
particular.
you caught me at a right time. And I'll have to say for anybody listening, it's not that you can't make this work for you if you don't have this, but I had a solid offer. I
Yeah.
had a solid audience. I had now I didn't they weren't in meta at they weren't on my pixel. I didn't have a pixel. So, but I had a solid audience. I knew my copy. I knew
Mm,
my wording. If I sat down with you for 2 minutes, I could sell you my offer right now. And I knew that I could do that. So like I came in, it's like I
mm-hmm.
know I have a thing that will sell. I just don't know how to get it into this scary machine that I
Yeah.
don't know how to use. So I really think that that
Yeah.
helped me like get on the fast track because like I whipped out copy like for these primary texts and stuff. Like I just did it because I had that offer. It was really solid. And I do think that that
Mm,
was helpful in like the fast track pace that I went on because I remember you were like, "Man, you're going." I was like, "Yeah,
mm-hmm.
like I was ready with that
Mm,
part. I wasn't trying to figure out two things at once. I wasn't trying to figure out
mm-hmm.
an offer and ads at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
I had started my school membership a month prior to coming into the ads. And just from my warm audience, I had 40 members when I started with you, and it's a $97 a month group.
mm-hmm.
So, I had social proof already. I had a
Mm-hmm.
base foundation, I had testimonies, and I think a lot of that works.
Yeah, you had done a ton of like the 0 to 1. I mean, how long were you building your list and working on your testimonies before you had your school group?
At 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I had had the business for 4 years, selling, anywhere from low ticket to high ticket,
Mm-hmm.
collecting testimonies, working in the Facebook groups. I mean, yeah, all of that. 4 years
Wow.
before I started the school membership, but before I started running ads also. So I
Mm,
had been through the gauntlet, of proven
yeah.
offers, what people's objections were. I know exactly what they're going to say. And that's so helpful in ads because when you're speaking to somebody who doesn't know you, you have to be able to say those objections so that when you have their attention for 3 seconds, you're over it already. You've already
Mm-hmm.
accomplished the objection. And I wouldn't have known that. I don't know that, and maybe some people do it, but I don't think that the ads would have performed as well as they did if I hadn't have spent that time learning and really being in there with my people.
Mm-hmm. I would say that's definitely on point. I think most of the people in the ads lab that they run their first ads tests, usually the results of the test is like we should work on the offer more, I would say,
Hmm.
most of the time.
Hmm.
And I think that's a good thing. Sometimes people run their test and they decide that they need to work on their offer more, but they did get a couple of members and that's a positive like momentum building thing. But you still if the costs were bad, you want to stop running ads. You want to like think about your offer more, work with the members you have, bring your price down to get some people in there for cheap so that you can work on your offer with them. It's
Sure.
it's really like that process is not always fast. That takes a
Yeah,
while.
it does. And that's, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, people have to have patience with that. But I think that that's why the free school group works so well. Just it's the
Mm-hmm.
concept. Like when I came into school, I had had a free Facebook group for 4 years. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the same thing in a different vehicle, but I had
Mm.
already done that work. Like I had already done one on ones with hundreds of clients for free, like doing the work. So yeah,
Mm.
when I came in, it's like, oh, you don't have a free group. I remember you asking me, you were like, are you going to do a free group? And I was like, no, no, I've
Yeah.
been doing
Yeah.
that. Now
Mm-hmm.
I know my offer. Like I've been selling this thing for $2,000. Like I'm ready to go in this,
Mm.
right now.
So what was the transition like from, or did you fully transition like right away? What did you
Oh
do
yeah.
to school?
So I
How'd that feel?
completely closed down my course that I was selling for $2,000. So I had a big closing this out promotion. This is the last time I'm ever going to sell this. And I
Mm-hmm.
got a big group of people in on that. And then I waited a month before I released the school membership.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, I wrote a massive email sequence, so many emails a week leading up to it. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Mm.
And then I released it, and I just did a big Facebook live inside of my group.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And I had 40 members in like a
Mm.
week. It was amazing.
Wow. What was the
And
feel? What was it like during that month where you like you had no active like products that you were delivering on, right?
well,
Or
I
were you?
was because I had a big group come in to
Mm.
the program as I was closing it. And that was a 6 month container. So actually, for a long time, I was serving both. I was serving people who are still in that 6 month container and who were in school. And so, I had to adjust a little bit on the ways that I was serving two groups basically at one time.
Mm-hmm.
But I made it work. I was so thankful when the 6 month container was over and I could
Mm.
just focus on the school members. I feel like that has gone a lot better. I've been, able just to do more with them because all
Yeah.
the focus has been there. But it was good. I wasn't nervous about not being able to produce in the school membership because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I already had a really good active warm audience who needed this stuff. So
I've noticed a lot of people with Facebook audiences, Facebook group audiences that are considering moving to Skool, but they're scared because they have a massive Facebook audience and they don't know how to best transition. They're nervous. They're like, I don't know how I'm going to move all these people. I mean, I talked to somebody, they had 150,000 people in their group and they're like, you wouldn't believe how little money I'm making on these people. Where if I just, like, what do I do? And they're nervous. So
yeah.
what would you tell these groups to think about and consider
Man,
in that?
the worst case is that it doesn't work. So, like, what are you waiting for? Do you know what I'm saying? Just
Mm-hmm.
try it because the worst case scenario is that it doesn't work. And then you just stick with the Facebook group. Like, you're not going to
Mm.
close that thing down. You're just saying, hey, I'm over here now and I'm offering these new cool things that you're not getting here. Come and give it a try. And then if it's dead and it doesn't work or you don't like it, then that's fine. Like, I don't know.
Mm.
That's how I've always operated in my businesses. Just try it because if it doesn't work,
Yeah.
there is no worst case scenario. You will come up with something new or you'll just go back to the old thing and it will be okay.
Yeah. So don't burn your Facebook group bridge just when you're starting to move people over.
No.
Just keep it open.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, I didn't close
Mm-hmm.
anything. I just said, hey, I'm over here now and
Mm-hmm.
come join me over here for all these cool things. And I still like, I'll post in that Facebook group, but I don't do value post in there anymore. I'm only
Mm.
giving value in my paid membership.
Oh,
So
okay.
So I just like yesterday I posted a teaser, like a teaser video. Like this is the kind of questions that I'm getting. Like this person asked me this question in my membership, and this is how I responded to her. Like I gave her an 8 minute tutorial video, and I created a Word document for her. And if you need this kind of help, that's what I'm doing over here in Skool. So
Mm,
it's like I'm not giving the value anymore. I'm showing them a
yeah.
teaser of the value that I'm giving and being like, if you want it,
Yeah.
come
Okay,
and
so
get
now
it. It's over here.
that's great. And so now that you're talking about that part of your group, that side of your group, how you're kind of delivering, you I mean, I've noticed you really over deliver in your group. You really offer a lot at the value price, and it seems right. It seems fair. I see other people on Skool that might charge a lot more for what you're doing, but probably at the cost of churn, and they're just charging that because they know they could. But it feels like you have a different outlook on the way you should run a group and what it's worth. Tell me, like, to start from like just an overview
Yeah.
perspective, just like how do you think about what you should offer each person that joins? What are they getting when they join? What do you owe them, and what's your cost for your group?
So, man, I've experienced this from the very, very beginning. When I very first started, I had 12 people that signed on with me. And out of those 12 people, there was 3 that were super, super active. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if you have 12 people in your group or you have, like, right now in my Skool membership, I have 150. And I have maybe 20, 25 ish that will show up to my group coaching calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, at that capacity, you can give a lot. Like, even out of a bigger group, there's not that many people. There's what, 10% that are going to really show up and really want all of your attention. And I feel like that is worth you giving to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not giving 150 people one on one reviews every day because 150 people aren't asking for it. Only 10% of those people are posting in the community every day and asking for it. So, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to give them everything, and it keeps the other people in there because they see, oh, if I need help, she's going to give me help like this. And it's
Mm.
almost like that fear of losing that kind of access.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I give, which I just think you can when it's not, it's a very small percentage of those people who really need your one-on-one attention. But when I give, I always show it publicly. I'm like very keen to don't do one to one, do one to many. So if somebody messages me something one to one, I will actually tell them, hey, can you post this in the group? I would love to send you a video feedback. And I just tell them I can only post that in the comments. I could
Mm.
send it in a one on
I
one
like
chat.
that. I
Cool.
like that.
But I want everybody to see that I'm giving them this kind of feedback. And that also helps me create a library of help because then if somebody else is asking for help and I said it to this one person, I can go back and tag people in those videos. So yeah,
Mm.
I'm not answering anything on a one to one. I just do everything publicly. And my churn has never been over 4% ever.
My God, Sarah. My God, that's so crazy. I, but it makes sense. Do you think about the ratio of fulfillment that you're doing in your group to generating leads the time you're putting into getting people in your group? Do you think about that, like just the percentage of your time between those two things, and what is that for you?
I wish I was cooler at that. I wish I was better. I wish I was really cool when it came to that. I think it's a great topic. I need to think about it more, but I think really the ads, right? Like the lead gen, doing the ads has taken that part off of me because I do some organic, but the ads really they run 24/7. So if you have a really
Mm-hmm.
good sales campaign running and then a retargeting behind that, I mean, it's like this thing that works the clock all the time. And I
Mm-hmm.
personally, I like to give more of my time in my community, coaching, giving feedback, giving help. Like that's where I get my energy from. That's what keeps me wanting to do this every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get stuck on the social media content thing, like I will just drain. And then I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So
Yeah.
the ads have really
Yeah.
helped me with that. Because then I can keep the legion coming in all the time, but I can give my delivery, full 100%. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it also helped that I have a full classroom of material. Like, when I came
Mm.
in, I had every course workshop thing that I've ever produced is in there.
Mm.
So I really like consignment store business A to Z. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to spend, and I don't have to spend my time coming up with the material. I'm spending my time helping them implement. And I do think that that
Mm-hmm.
allows me to give a little bit more because I'm really just helping them implement what's there instead of like coming up with content, also coming up with whatever my offer is, also coming at, a lot of things are just in place already. I'm just really
Mm.
building, I'm just growing it.
Yeah. I feel like the relationship between the time spent on fulfillment and the time spent on sales is really like it's really directly affects the churn percentage a lot. And I noticed that I don't know, this is just theory, this is just observation, but it's like there's a lot of spending more time on sales and less time on fulfillment. People that can get a lot of money and show off a lot of MRR, but they're
Hmm.
probably hiding their churn percentage because they're spending
Probably.
5% of the business's energy
Yeah.
on giving inside and they're spending 95% on getting them inside. And
Right.
I've noticed that the low churn, it's like high fulfillment, low sales. And in order to have like low effort put onto sales, you need like a system and a machine that you've built that
Yeah.
requires low energy to do it.
Well,
I
they're
mean,
real people and they do come in because they have a real problem and they need your help solving it. And I do feel
mm-hmm,
like if you can help them more in that first month, then you can keep them for a long time. Like my average member stays around 13 months with me right now. And
wow.
if I can help them a lot in that first month, then not that I don't have to do anything after that, but
Yeah.
really it dwindles
Yeah.
down to pretty much nothing like the first month. So I have to keep that in mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've just got to help them when they get in there. I'm on top of them. So right now I'm running a 7-day free trial for the first time. I turned my free trial on.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, with this new promotion. But like already I've made a welcome post. I've reached out to them. I've sent them a personal video. I've
Mm-hmm.
tagged them in individual training that would be helpful. I mean, I will do so much for these new members because I know if I can just get them to watch something and if I can just get them to reach out to me personally, then that will keep them.
Yeah, it's like I've noticed that too. There's like an activation that happens in the first month that if they connect with you, if you can just help them start and they start getting results, there's a natural slowdown of how much someone's going to request of you as they start to get results. They're gonna be on their own and to some degree, and there's a
Mhm.
slower pace that they engage in the community, and I think there's more of a that's how the economics work themselves out. It feels
Mhm.
like it's if they stay forever or a long time because you've really helped them get to a point to where like they're satisfied with what they're getting from being there, and then there's a
Yeah.
lurking like outcome that is sort of occurs too. Like a lot of people just start lurking or they start contributing also, which is nice,
Yes.
but it's very
I
interesting.
encourage that though. Like, I mean, I tag a lot of my old members. I tag because, I mean, now that I've helped them for a solid month, like, I really know some of the ins and outs of their businesses. I know what point of sale systems they're using. I know some details that are helpful. So when other people have questions, I mean, I'm tagging everybody. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
so and so does this. Oh, I helped so and so with this. And I think pulling them back in is also helpful for churn because they like that personal shout out. Like, who doesn't like, the
Mm-hmm.
person, the owner of the community is like almost the celebrity to them. Who doesn't like that person saying their name, and tagging
Mm-hmm.
them? And really, it puts the plate on them. Like, you don't have to do anything but just say, hey, so and so is really good at this. Or so and so, I helped so and so with that. Maybe, she can have some
Mm-hmm.
input here. So it does some really good things. It's like it helps with churn. You're calling out your members, you're saying who's good at what, you're giving them a compliment. And yeah, and then you're kind of passing it off. You're like, actually they can help you, you know?
Yeah. How much of that kind of stuff for you is like intuitive versus like totally systematized?
No, I think it's intuitive
Yeah,
because
yeah.
no one had to tell me to do that. But
Yeah.
I do
That's another
think that
thing
that is
about
helpful.
like people just want to get their churn down on Skool. And the thing about people with low churn on Skool that I've noticed is they're intuitively working on helping people all the time. There's not like a
Yeah.
system where they're like, we must tag everyone after a meeting, and it's just like
Right.
they
No.
just do the stuff because they're
Yeah.
plugged in.
Yeah.
And you're like that in a way that I feel like is like it's kind of out of this world because everyone's so connected in your community, and you're just in the you're just like going with the flow in a lot of ways. I know you have a lot of systems and you have a lot of regularity in what you're doing, but
Yes.
the I think the things that keep people the longest have more to do with those like intuitive ways that you're just
Yeah.
going day to day and helping, you
It's
know.
just personal. And I do think that the group coaching calls helps with that. People
Mm,
who come on my calls and that's how I got to know you. But I know that from my own community too. Like if I join something, you're going to know me. Like we're
mm,
about to be friends because
mm-hmm,
if I need your help, I know I need to be in front of your face. So I
mm,
love people who do that. Like they come on the coaching calls and then I'm able to build a relationship with them. It's hard for the people who come into my community and they don't join the coaching calls. I
mm,
think that's the hardest because then I don't get to know them. So, like that personal aspect of me tagging them or like these things that I naturally do, it's harder when you don't know somebody.
mm,
You don't have anything to go off of. So that is one thing that I'm constantly working on and that I probably need better systems around. But if I could just get my people onto the coaching calls, like everything else just falls into place really
mm-hmm,
seamlessly and they stay
mm,
for longer.
mm-hmm. So when people are in the coaching calls, where does sort of your where do you like draw a line at extending help to people in your community? You're
I
coaching them.
don't.
Do you help them by writing doc? Like, what do you not when people join? What are you doing specifically for a consignment store owner? And then
Man,
what do you like? I'm not gonna do that. Or it sounds like you don't have a limit, but
I don't. I will do it all. I will help them with their Canva templates. I will, for their flyers for their store. On the coaching calls, I do store layout reviews. Like they come on Zoom in their store and I will walk around their whole store. Even though there's a layout training that they can watch in the classroom,
mm-hmm,
we will do a mini little, and everybody's on the call watching, but I'll do layout
mm-hmm,
reviews. I do contract reviews, website reviews. I will look at their social media pages. I will look at their Canvas stuff. Um, then I ask, answer any questions. But most of the time when I'm helping them, I pull up a new document and I
mm-hmm,
write down as I'm talking to them everything that I'm saying. So it's almost like they have this personalized document. And then right there on the call, I share the document and I comment under their registration. Like I have a post and they can register their questions. So everybody has access to the document, but it's very like a personalized step by step action plan for them so that they don't get off the call and wonder, what did she say? Oh, she had some
ah,
really good points. It's like you have a document that says, this was step one, this is step two. I think you
wow,
should do
okay.
this.
And you're
Step
doing this on
three.
the fly, huh? Like with
Yeah.
during the call. So you said that you have a form, like so before your call happens. What is the thing that you ask your group to do for your before your call?
Yeah, so I make a post that says, here's how you can register for the call. And it has a list of like 10 or 12 things, ways that they can register. Because some people need ideas, like on what kind of questions should they be asking? Or,
Hmm.
sometimes I say, like
Okay.
one of them is, if you're new, tell me I'm new and I don't know where to start in the community. And
Okay.
that's their registration. So I give them a list of how they should register for the calls, what kind of questions they can ask and
Hmm.
they ask the questions through the week. And then on Monday on the call, I pull up the registration. So I share it on my screen and I just go registration by registration.
I see.
And
Okay.
as soon as I start answering somebody's question, I comment to their registration and I say answering at the so and so minute mark, so that now everybody on the call knows exactly. So for the replay, they know
Mm-hmm.
when I'm answering the question. And then at the end, after all the registrations are done, I open it up to whoever's on the call. And if they post in the chat, I will copy and paste it and I'll put it in the registration, like on the school post myself.
You know, it would be really interesting to this maybe sometime after this meeting. It'd be really interesting to do a deep dive like visually together, walking through what one of those has been like so other people can learn about this, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of disconnect between the advice of like get people on a meeting every week. That helps, you know, to all the way to like where you are, which is like they register, there's these options, they do this when we get on, there's this
Yes.
structure, and this is how it's executed. And I think
Yes.
that it would be interesting to see this and to walk through it.
Yeah.
And
It has
because you've
really
got to,
helped a lot. And then there's
yeah.
nothing on my end. Like after the call is done, I just am uploading the Zoom video to Vimeo and then putting it into the same. So I
Okay.
edit the lesson on Skool and I just delete the registration stuff. I say all the questions and timestamps are in the comments and I put the video
Mm-hmm.
there and I immediately create the post for the next week. So the post is live for a whole week, the registration for the next call.
Got it. And is that always pinned? Is there always a registration pinned?
Always.
So you have a registration pinned, and do you, at this time, it's like December 2024, there's no like onboarding experience for Skool, but I know that Skool is working on an onboarding experience. So this might, I don't know, this conversation will probably shift once they do that. But do you have like any new member onboarding pinned items, or do you just have it in the classroom?
So I have a welcome module that they go through that has several, it's like broken up because I think that that's how I like it best. So like one is
Mm-hmm.
like download the Skool app. The next one
Mm-hmm.
is like here's what to do next. The next one is like let's play a welcome game. I always have everybody play a
Mm.
welcome game, which I
What is
love.
what is this? What
It's
is a
just a
welcome game?
post in the community and all they have to do is put a picture in the comments of the last picture that they took in their store. And if they post a
Mm.
picture, I unlock a module inside of the classroom. It's the only classroom module that I have locked.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that.
And
It's
it gets
clever.
them because, like, at first they have to learn about Skool. Like, they don't know what this
Mm-hmm.
thing is, and that's a big hurdle. So, like, getting them to play on a post, getting them to like attach a
Mm-hmm.
photo, it's like by doing this, you're teaching them the platform in a
Yeah.
fun way that also then still creates engagement. So every member who comes in is going through this welcome module, and it's really like trying to teach them the different features of Skool without saying,
Mm-hmm.
here's how you do this it
Yeah.
in like a boring way.
It's a game. And what
Yeah.
happens when people post their photos? Does that turn into other threads
Yeah.
of, because that's such an interesting thing to see all the other stores.
Yeah, because it comes up all the time. So people will
Mm.
comment and be like, hey, where'd you get those so and so? Like, that's normally what it is. People are like looking
Mm.
at shelves or like whatever, and they're like, hey, where'd you get those from? So,
Wow, okay. Dang, that's awesome. I feel like the game and the structure for your calls, I feel like you've built all these mechanisms in place that help people get success and help you protect your time. For instance, like when a call ends, you're not doing a bunch of things, and everyone's gotten
mhm.
so many benefits. What do you do with the so with that doc now? I remember last time we talked, like you were time coding it differently and you were coming up with
Yes.
stuff. We were both working on this, and I
Yeah.
feel
It
like your
was so time
system,
consuming.
you're now just done when the meeting's done because you note the time code in the doc live while you're having the meeting, it sounds like.
Yes. Yes.
Man, that's awesome.
It's so key. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do docs for those calls anymore. Everything happens on the Skool post, and then the timestamp happens right then. So I'm done with this question, and then I'll say, okay, I'm heading to Julie next, and then I'll comment and I'll say answering at the, and I literally say it out loud. They know it now. I just say I'm
Uh-huh.
answering this at the 17-minute mark,
Yeah.
and I type it as I'm talking, and then I say okay, and I read her question, and then I go.
Man, you're like a You're like,
Okay, tell me, what am I?
it
This is
just
going to be
reminds me.
so good.
It just reminds me of like everyone else is just like playing basketball in high school, and this is like the NBA, dude.
No,
This is like
no.
I'm telling you, like I need help on calls. Like I need Joel just to tell me like what is the next question I should answer because I don't even know how to. And you're over here, this you're in the NBA because you're like you're answering the questions. They're probably the best answers in the world. You're simultaneously recording like everything that's happening so that when the call ends, everyone has just the maximum juice in the right formatting. And that to me is just that's a top level thing, my
Thank
dog.
you.
That's really
Thank you.
nice. That's
The
very cool.
registrations, man, they really do help. And I will say, I will
Mm,
stay on those calls. This is probably scary for you. You really
mm-hmm.
like to cut these things off. I will
Yeah.
stay on these calls. I'll stay on. We've stayed on for 2.5 hours before. And I have
Wow.
2 calls every Monday, 2 call times, a morning and an afternoon, so that I reach everybody, all time zones, because I have people
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. But I will stay on until there are no more questions. Nobody's getting off that call with any amount of hesitation at all.
Wow. I feel like
I'm so sorry. So sorry.
um I mean that has happened once or twice of the dozens of calls at this point for me. They're usually if they go long, it's like they'll go from 1 hour to 1.5 hours. But we usually I always have a hard time with this because there's just so many different styles of people. We're
Yeah.
starting to think that we might split up our calls between like people that run directly to like school paid offers versus people that run to free with sales ascension offers because I've
Mm,
noticed like for us those two different styles. They just think about everything differently. They're one side they're thinking about sales calls, they're thinking about this like free to paid, and that
right.
takes up a ton of bandwidth in their thinking all the time. And then the other people are thinking of just how do I get people to pay right away? And that puzzle takes up all the bandwidth. And it's just like we've
Yeah, that's
decided we
good.
kind of need to segment. Those people don't even want to hear about the other side. They're not doing that stuff. And
Gotcha.
so for us, I'm still figuring out. And we started in May. It's now December, and we've done this so much, but I'm still figuring out how to best like segment to make the best use of everybody's time so that everyone's
Yeah.
getting the max. And I'm just now realizing, oh, we should do it like this, and it's an
So I don't
experiment.
want to throw a wrench in your thought
Yeah.
process here, but in my prior program, I tried to segment my morning and afternoon call between people who had been with me for a while and new people because I felt the same thing. There was a vast difference in what they were asking. Like people who came in new needed to know the basics, and my people who had been with me, they didn't. But it didn't work. And it was so
Mm-hmm.
interesting how when the older people who had been with me for a while stopped hearing all of the stuff that they didn't think that they needed to hear, they stopped getting as much value out of it. Because sometimes just the stuff that we don't think we need to hear is it's good repetitiveness, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
it might be very different for you, but it didn't work for me. And I do think that those registrations helped because when people register for the call, they know I'm going to answer their questions first. And I will go in the order of the of the post. Like I just go
Okay.
in the order of the comments. Now I give priority to people who are live. So I go down the
Mm-hmm.
post, I find the first comment, I see if they're on live. I'll go on, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they know that they're going to get their questions answered first. And that has helped me not have to segment the call because I do feel like then explaining the segmentation also is nobody's going to pay attention to that. Like no one pays attention to these things. They're going to get on the
Mm-hmm.
wrong call and then you're going to make them feel kind of weird like they're on the wrong call, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know.
It
It
seems
was
like you're right. You're so consistent too that everyone just knows the system, and it seems like now they probably want to be live and they want to post first
yes.
because you're so consistent.
Right. Which helps
Yeah.
because then I get the registrations that I want to make the call worth doing because I actually get
Mm-hmm.
the registrations. And yeah, they want to be on live so they can hear their questions. And two, because they're all recorded. So I say you don't have to be on live, but I like to go back and forth with people. So if they're not live, I'll say things like, man, I wish you were live because I really want to ask you this question, or I would love to know your
Nice.
numbers for this. So it's like I'm encouraging them that they could have gotten more out of it if they were on live. But I'll still answer your question as best as I can. And then I'll say, like, I hope this helps, but if you need more, let me know if you can come to next Monday's call, or, post in the community. I'll do a live video feed for you, or,
Wow, man.
I
So
get it
when
in there.
yeah, how many calls do you do regularly? Do you have a certain amount per week or per month?
I just have 2 group coaching calls for the community. But then on my About page, I have a Calendly link so that people can book a free strategy call with me. And so my ads take them to the About page, and I get a lot of calls booked from that link. It's the only place that I have that call link. I don't put the call link in the ads. So they're clicking through to the About page, and I will get booked calls from there. And I maybe have anywhere from, I don't know, 5 to 10 on a really busy week
Okay.
calls just from that, just for free strategy calls about the group.
How long do you go on your free strategy calls?
20 minutes.
Okay.
And I do really stick to that. I do.
How
But through
far out?
Calendly, I do have a call guide, which I have found has been really helpful. It's like a 20-page workbook that I made in Canva. And it talks about the call. It talks about how to prep for the call. So
Okay.
it's like, if you have a spouse or a partner in the business that needs to, help you make sales decisions, have them on the call, be in a quiet place. Here's the reschedule button. Here's everything about the program. I give testimonies. There's a video from me on there. And people use that call guide. So I have like text reminders set up from Calendly, and it texts them the call guide like a few
Mm,
days before the call. And
wow.
they read that call guide, because some people will get on and be like, well, the call guide actually answered all of my questions, but I figured I'd just keep the call anyways. And that is so good, because like then they've already kind of gotten to know me some.
And there was a time when you didn't have the because we were working on your ads before and after the Calendly link,
Yes.
and I remember you noticing a difference. And it seems like you haven't gone back and removed the
Right.
Calendly link. It seems like you've doubled down. What was
Yeah.
your before and after like on the Calendly part with in relation to ads?
So now like 50% of my conversions come from the calls.
Okay.
So from the people who convert from the ads, 50% of them will just, join straight away. The other 50% book a call. And my calls are right now converting around like 46%.
Okay.
So pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good conversion rate there. So if I can get them on a call, then I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah. Do you do for your 20-minute call, do you have a system for what
No,
you're hitting at all? Do you sell at
no.
all? Are you
I'm
just
terrible at these. I'm terrible. It's like I'm talking to you right now.
yeah.
But I always start the call with like, tell me how you found me, and then what you want to accomplish on the call today. And those are, I just say that right off the bat, and then whatever happens, happens. Some people don't even answer those 2 questions. It's just the only way that I know how to start. But I basically, at the end of the call, I will try to say, well, do you want to see the community? Like, would it be helpful for you to see it? And so whatever we've talked about just happens. I try to get through their pain points, but I'm just not good at staying on task with like sales call stuff. But at the end, I do like to show them the community, because I feel like that is really helpful for them just to see it and like feel like, oh, it's a tangible thing. So if I really spend my money on this today, I'm going to get this thing that you just showed me, instead of it being like this thing in the air that they don't know exists, like you can talk about it. But I do think that that is helpful, is like showing them. So I share my screen. I'm just like, hey, this community feed is kind of like a Facebook or Instagram feed. So, you can use it. There's 140 people in here who like to tell you, answer your questions. and I'm in here every day, and then I show them the classroom really quick. I click into one of the modules so that they can really see, like, there's videos, you can play it immediately, here's resources you can download. And then I show them the calendar really quick, and I'm like, remember the group coaching calls I was talking about? Like, this is where your Zoom information is. And then I'm like, it's all pretty easy. It's on an app. You can get it on your phone. And then I'm like, what other questions do you have for me? But I do feel like that at the end, showing them the community is like where people
Yeah.
go, oh, like, okay.
See,
I
that's
see
only
it
like a
now.
30 to 60 second, probably like moving
Yeah.
around the community, and then you put the ball in their court again, and by then, of the 46%, you think like that's where they're like, I'm most of them are in, or is there
Yeah.
usually anything else?
Right after I get off of the call, I send them a follow-up email and I just say, hey, it was so great talking to you today. It sounds like you had this issue going on, which I know I can help you with. And actually, there's already a pre-recorded material for that here in the school group. Here's the link to join. I hope to see you inside today. So I do try to put something personal in the follow-up email, and I send that right after I get off of the call.
Man, you prefaced all this by saying I'm not that good at these sales calls, but
I'm not.
46% is good, and you have a again, like, it's the intuitive. You're doing such good things that make so much sense to get people to understand you're getting people to understand the value, instead of just like, I'm just going to try to sell somebody an offer. And I think that's just like, I don't know that people recognize the difference between those things, but it's
Mm,
such a massive difference. You just know you can help somebody, and you're just
yeah.
showing them how you would help them, and you're just answering their questions, and you're setting limits for yourself of like 20 minutes is how long you'll have, because I can't give you all of this free time. And then you tell them again, like at the end when you're done, what you know would help them that's in your group. And yeah, that's how far out do you book your count? Like, how far out are
Mm.
calendar bookings usually? Is it beyond the 7 day
Only
window?
2 weeks.
Okay,
2 weeks out.
yeah,
And I
because
feel like that is
yeah,
good enough. Like beyond that, they kind of forget. But I do have all of those reminders set up in Calendly. Like it sends them an email, it sends them text messages, and
yeah,
I feel like that really helps. But also, I
hmm
send them a manual email before the sales call. So the morning of, I send everybody who has a call booked that day the Zoom information personally, because sometimes I don't trust that they get it or that they know where that Zoom information is. And
hmm
I want them to be on time for that call. So I'll be like,
hmm
hey, so you have this Zoom information on hand. Here it is. You just click this link and I'll see you at so and so time.
mm,
And I do that manually. And I do feel like giving them just the Zoom information in a regular email helps them
hmm
get on the call.
totally. It's just a regular manual email.
Yeah.
It's a human thing.
Yeah. And I'm,
Um,
I'm like very casual with it. Like the caption is like Zoom info for our call today. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
nothing professional. It's just like me talking.
hmm
It's
yeah,
kind of looks
yeah.
probably a little sloppy.
There's like B two
But
B, like everyone's like consignment people. They're probably like most business owners, if they have brick and mortar, probably just like a gloss. They just glaze over B2B speak, and so
yeah.
you're doing like B2BF, like business to best friend speak.
Yeah.
It's like a new thing. It's
Yeah.
better. I feel
Yeah.
like
It
for
is.
you, this like do you even think of these as sales calls? Also, like it is like
Kind of. I mean, I guess, but I don't go through any, like, I've listened to these sales structures, and some of it I'm like, oh, I should be doing that. But I don't know. I feel like it's better to just have a conversation with people and just really listen to them. And like, if you have just any kind of good mannerism and how to talk to people, right? So, like, if me and you were going to have a call right now, I would listen to you. And then I would try to repeat back what you just said to me. And be like, yeah, and then try to relate a little bit. Like, I'm like, man, I've been there and it was hard. I remember that feeling. So, like, I mean, I'm just trying to have like a normal conversation with these people. I'm not selling them anything unless they're like, tell me about your group, then I will. But I don't do any of that until the end of the call where I'm like, well, do you want me to show you the university? Like, do you want me to show you where all of this stuff is that could be helpful?
Sarah, never change. You're like a
Oh,
national treasure. Please never change. Don't ever be swayed by anyone that tell you to change the way you're doing your calls. They're not even sales calls. They're just like people calls. Do you have a
yeah.
heart out right now? Is this your
No,
time that
I'm
something
good.
starts?
I'm good. No, I've got
Okay.
30 more minutes. I'm good.
Okay. I just
I
feel
do
like
have a heart out. Let me tell you this though. For these
yeah.
Calendly calls, okay, I act like I am so busy. If I only have one call booked
Mm-hmm.
that day, at the 20 minutes, like at the 5 minute mark, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I have another call after this. These calls are only 20 minutes, but I'm going to like pretty much jump off, right? So we've got 5 more minutes. I'm just giving you a heads up.
That is the only way to do it. It's impossible to protect the time ending thing otherwise,
Yes.
especially for people like you that are like real human individuals and you're not like a slick
Right.
back, salesman person. It's hard to just, you know, if
Yeah.
you have a heart, you have to do something at the big, you have to kind of pull a trick out in order to like make
Yeah.
sure there's just no other way.
Yeah.
I
But
feel,
once
I
they get
feel like,
inside, I'll give them all my time. Like if you're paying
hmm
me monthly, I'll give you all. Everything I've got. I'll give it all to you.
yeah. How do you feel about the way your group is growing, the speed of that, like the people coming in, the people going out, like how do you think about that stuff?
You know, I think you always want more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your goal, it's so interesting how this happened. So when I started running the ads, I had 40 members in my group and I was like, if only I could get 100 members, like I would just, I felt like I will just quit. I'll just throw my hands up if I could just get 100 members. And then I got 100 members and I was like, well, like 200 would be nice. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just keep going. I joined Evelyn's mastermind, which is just like incredible, by the
We did
way.
too. Yeah, we just
Man,
joined.
yeah. Did you? She's a powerhouse. Like me
Mm-hmm.
standing next to her is like, I don't know how she does it. She's absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But
So real. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm at 150 now. I feel good about it. I feel good about the growth. I think it's attainable for my niche, for my business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the growth has been good. I mean, with the churn rate being so low, I really maintain, but I'm always doing something. And I do hear that with my members a lot. Like, I'm not stagnant. I do like a new challenge every month, or I
Mm.
host a new workshop. I mean, I'm putting out live new material, or
Why do
I
you
don't
do new
know.
challenges? What is your goal when you do a new challenge every month?
One, to be helpful for them, first of all. Like the things that they're struggling with are in the membership, but I found this out. If I just say, hey, I'm running a challenge that runs along with this material, then it's like they do it. It's like they need some extra encouragement. And if you can get them a win inside of your membership, they will stay with you. They will.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't know, I just pull one thing out and I'm like, hey, we're just all going to do this one thing together.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start on this date, we'll end on this date. Um, I don't know. It works, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that they feel like there's always something new happening, so it's
Mm.
not the same thing all the time. Like you could do
Okay.
that with like just captions or just hooks. Be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have a hook challenge. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think one little piece, so it's not big stuff. It's like one little thing. And then everybody gets to see everybody else's material or everybody
Mm-hmm.
else's thing, which is also super, super helpful.
Mm.
And it gets people engaged and talking to each other. And yeah, it just creates more activity in the group, which is always good. But
Mm.
it's easy because there's so much there. There's so much. So you just like pull one little thing out and just encourage everybody to do it together.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really helpful. So I'm doing a challenge starting on January 2nd. Um, so yeah,
What
it's good.
what do you what do you do to structure a challenge and launch a challenge? Like, are you building out now for what you're gonna launch later? And tell me kind of what is your, do you think about like, I have a deliverable, I need this many emails, I want to launch like this. Do you prepare all that or how do you think
So
about it?
I did for this one, but it's a repeat of a challenge that I did in September that was just kind of off the whim. Like I just said in my
Mm-hmm.
community, like I just made a post and I was like, hey, we're going to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's all do it together. I talked about it on the top of my group coaching calls. I made a couple posts about it in my community, and I just let it happen kind of organically. And then
Mm-hmm.
it worked so well. And everybody had great testimonies that all also happened organically, that now I'm like, oh, I should repeat that. So now in this one, I'm doing all the things. Like I have an email sequence happening. I have
Mm-hmm.
graphics made and social posts going out. I'm running ads right now. I was working on ads all morning, but I'm running ads to my challenge specifically. Um, yeah, I've made new creatives for these for this challenge like every day the last 4 days, off of the
Wow.
winners that have happened. You taught
Mm-hmm.
me to do that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, now there's a structure, but now I have social proof, right? Like I can go back and say, hey, 16 people took this challenge. Here's what happened for them. And then I made it cool. Like now I gave a title to it, and I
Mm-hmm.
made a module inside of the classroom, and I made a tracker that looks beautiful on Google Sheets. And but
Mm-hmm.
the first one was just
You just
um,
winged it. It was a
winged
feeling.
it.
You're
Yeah.
like, this is what people want right now.
And it was so good. And I knew I should do it again because they were asking me to. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
really just listen to them and what they want more of.
Mm-hmm. In consignment right now, what is the thing people want more of? Like, what's the challenge about?
It's always sales and foot traffic.
Okay.
Always sales and foot traffic. So, especially, man, coming up. So, the J months is what we call them: January, July, and June. They are tough for retail across the United States, everywhere, but January, especially because it's right after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
No one has any money. And in the northern states, it gets cold and everybody wants to stay in their house. So driving sales and foot traffic in January is really hard. So that's what everybody's talking about right now. But that's
Mm-hmm.
just what it is. They all need more sales, they all need more people to walk in their door.
Mm-hmm.
And they all think about it the wrong way. They
Yeah.
all want to, yeah,
Yeah.
they're all wrong. No, they all want to do it through marketing, and marketing
Mm.
sucks. It takes a lot of time and money to get new leads coming in the door, which we all know. But I kind of take
Mm.
an approach. So I was in real estate for a while, and if you know anything about real estate or realtors, man, they are so good at this. They look at their database that they already have,
Mm-hmm.
and they just try to resell them houses. They're like, hey, are you moving
Mm.
soon? Hey, do you have a friend? Hey, let's go to coffee. Like they just do a lot of
Ah.
things with their current database, and those become their best referrals. So I actually took that model and I applied it to my consignment store. And when I stopped marketing so much for new leads, but instead I focused on the consigners that I already had,
Mm-hmm.
then my business just grew like exponentially. So
Mm.
that's like my secret sauce. So I teach people how
Wow.
to do that instead of marketing more, because it's like throwing money down the tank. But
Wow. Interesting. So you pull a lot from the real estate world, take a lot of
yeah,
learnings, and reapply them to the consignment world.
yeah. I actually man, yeah. I had my store for 8 years, but at year 5, my store was like drowning, literally. I was about to close it. And I was a single mom. I had a 6 year old and a newborn. And
Mm.
when he was 5 months old, I went and got a second job so that I could keep my store open. And it was in real estate. And I was managing, I have an accounting degree also. So, anyways, I was doing accounting for these 5 real estate offices, like this business here. And I won't say what corporation it was for, but
Mm-hmm.
anyways, they offer free education for everybody, for all of their real estate members. And I was able to go. So I love continued education. So I would
Mm-hmm.
pop into these classes all the time. I would get on every single continued education sales call that there
Mm.
was. So I was just like soaking it in, and I wasn't thinking about real estate at all or this current job. Like they were just paying me basically to be there to learn for my business. But I was like, how can I apply this to my store? And I lost an employee and I had to go back to the store. So I had to quit that job. So I was only there for 6 months, but I applied everything I learned to my store, and I tripled my sales within 2 years.
Wow.
And that's what I teach people to do now is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things that I learned. And I was like, how can we do this? Which maybe that's where some
Mm-hmm.
of this comes from inside of my membership, because I'm like, we already have people there who love us and believe in us. And so if we can just get them to stay, like we just retain
Mm-hmm.
them, they will do all the referrals for you. They will be happy customers and they
Mm-hmm.
will, and that's what I find. Like my members will be
Mm-hmm.
in other Facebook groups just referring me like crazy. And it's
Mm-hmm.
that same concept. You just treat the people you have so good that they don't ever want to leave and they want all their friends to come and join them because
Mm-hmm.
it's so good here.
Yeah, man, that's a perfect like it's like the perfect long-term like frame to always hold when you're making decisions. I feel like is that it really comes down to the reputation of, do people want to tell other people about this?
Yes.
And if you're delivering all the time, if you're seeing like that's a great north star to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, it's been real. I think we're gonna leave it there, and
Yes.
I we should have a part two. We'll dive in again after we get through January, so you can tell me how you helped everyone through the slump and what kind of hat tricks you pulled out, and how you somehow were able to make magic happen for consignment in January.
I
So
would love that.
good luck to you. I appreciate you. It's always such a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm an open book too, so reach out anytime. I'd love to talk about business. I love it.
Oh, of course. I'm sure we'll be in the DMs on Skool right after this. So
Yes. Right after
all right.
this. Yes.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. Bye everyone.